In this lesson, we are going to learn about the quotient rule. And quotient rule is a method we use in differentiating fractions. And as we're going to be applying the quotient rule, we need to know how to identify the v and the u. To apply this concept, let us look at an example. We are given a function y is equals to 2x squared minus 5 divided by 3x plus 2, and you're told find the derivative of this function. So to do this, we need to apply the quotient rule. And I'm going to write the quotient rule here. Then you can be able to learn how to identify the u, the v, and how to substitute them in the quotient rule function. Quotient rule states that change in y over change in x is going to be equal to v multiplied by change in u over change in x. Then you subtract u multiplied by change in v over change in x. Then all this you divide by v squared. V is the denominator and u is the numerator. So from this function given, we can be able to identify them and then we insert them in this formula. So let us do that. So you're going to say, let u be our numerator, which is going to be 2x squared minus 5. And v is going to be equal to our denominator, which is 3x plus a 2. And now from this formula, we can see we have to find change in u over change in x and change in v over change in x. So we find change in u over change in x. We're going to differentiate this function to get that. And the derivative of this function is going to be 4x. Then you have to find change in v over change in x, which means that you have to differentiate the v function. And when you differentiate 3x plus 2 is going to give us a derivative of a 3. Then after that, now that we have all the variables, we can just come and substitute them in our quotient rule function. So we're going to say to get change in y over change in x is going to be equal to v. We have to identify the v, and in this case, the v is 3x plus 2. It's going to be 3x plus a 2. You multiply by the change in u due to change in x, and change in u due to change in x is 4x. So you're going to multiply by 4x. Then you subtract the u. So you have to identify the u. In this case, the u is 2x squared minus 5. That is 2x squared minus 5. Then you multiply by change in v, change in x, and change in v, change in x in this case is a 3. So you multiply by a 3. Then you divide by the denominator squared. And the denominator is going to be the v, and our v is equals to 3x plus a 2. And therefore, it has to be squared like that. Then from here, we just simplify our equation, which we are going to have as change in y over change in x is equals to, you open up this bracket. So you're going to say 4x, you multiply by both of these elements. So 3x times 4x is going to give us 12x squared. Then 2 times 4x is going to give us plus 8x. Then you have to open this bracket with a 3. And this 3 is going to be connected to this negative. So as you multiply, make sure that you pay attention to the multiplication of signs. And just in case you want to know how to multiply negative numbers, you can follow a video in the link on the description box below to be able to learn how to open up brackets using positive and negative numbers. So in this case, I'm going to take negative 3. You multiply by positive 2x squared. That is going to give us negative 6x squared. Then negative 3 multiplied by negative 5 is going to give us a positive 15. Then you have to divide by the denominator squared. And this denominator squared, we can open up or we can expand this bracket using the quadratic identity. In case you want to learn about how to use quadratic identity to expand such kind of functions, you can follow the link on the description below to learn that. So to do that, we normally say this element, you square the first term. That is going to be 9x squared. Then you multiply the two terms to get the product. That is 3x times 2. You get a 6. Then you double that product. So 6x times 2 is going to be a positive 12x. Then you square the second element. 2 squared is going to be equal to 4. So we just expanded this using the quadratic identity expansion method. Now from here, you just need to simplify your expression to the numerator and the denominator to get the derivative of our fraction. So in this case, we put the like terms together. 12x squared minus 6x squared is going to give us 6x squared. Then plus an 8 does not have a like term, so it's just going to be 8x. And then you have a 15, so you add a constant 15 there, divided by 9x squared plus 12x plus a 4. And that is going to be the derivative of our function. Let us see another example. In this example, you are told, find the gradient of the curve at the point 2, negative 0.5. So remember, when you're looking for the gradient of a function, is just differentiating that function once. Then the gradient function you get, you substitute x with the value given. So in this case, for us to be able to get the gradient of this function, we have to differentiate this function. And since it is a fraction, we are going to use the quotient rule. So I'm going to rewrite the quotient rule again. That is, change in y over change in x is going to be equal to v multiplied by change in u over change in x. Then you subtract the u multiplied by change in v over change in x. Then you divide by the v squared. So the first thing you need to do is identify the u and the v. So we're going to say let the numerator equals our u, and our numerator in this case is x minus a 5. Then obviously v is going to be equal to x plus 4 because our denominator. And then you have to find change in u over change in x for the u function. So when you differentiate, the u in this case is just going to give us a 1. Then you also have to find change in v over change in x of our function. And in this case, when you differentiate this function, it's just going to give you 1 as well. After getting these derivatives and this component u and v, you can just come and input them in the quotient rule formula to get the derivative of our fraction. Let us do that. So you're going to say change in y over change in x is going to be equal to, you identify your v. So in this case, the v is x plus a 4. Then you have to multiply by change in u due to change in x. And in this case is 1. So you multiply by 1. Then you subtract. You identify your u. Your u in this case, x minus 5. Then you multiply by change in v due to change in x, which was 1. So you multiply by 1. Then you divide by the denominator squared. And in this case is v. So the v squared is going to be x plus 4. Then you square that. After that is open up the brackets and then simplify your equation. So you're going to have change in y over change in x is going to be equal to, when you just open up this bracket with 1, it's just going to give you x plus 4. Then you open up this bracket, which is going to be negative 1 you multiply by x is going to give us negative x. Then you have to multiply negative 1 with negative 5, and that's going to give us a positive 5. Then you divide by the denominator squared. So in this case, we are going to find the square of the first element, which is just going to be x squared. Then find the product of the two elements. 4 times x is 4x. Then you double that to get 8x. Then you square the second element, which is a 4, and that's going to give us a 16. Then after that, put the like terms together. So you have x minus x, they are going to cancel out. And then you have 4 plus 5, the numerator is going to be a 9. And the denominator, you have x squared plus 8x plus a 16. Now this is the gradient function. So with this gradient function, if we just substitute the value of x at that point, we are going to get the gradient of that function at this coordinate point. So in this case, we are going to take the gradient function, but in place of x, we substitute with a 2. So in this case, we're going to have 2 squared plus 8, you substitute a 2 with x, then plus a 16. From here is just simplification. So we get the numerator as 9. Then we have 2 squared is going to be a 4. Then 8 times 2 is going to be a 16. And then you have another 16. That is, you had another 16 there. From there is just simplification again. that is going to be 9 over 4 plus 16 is 20, 20 plus 16 is 36. After that, you just simplify. So you can say by 9, 1, by 9, 4. Therefore, the gradient of this function at the coordinate point 2, negative 0.5 is going to be a quarter. So that brings us to the end of this video. Hoping it's going to help you at some point in your maths journey. Thank you for watching and hoping to see you next time. Thank you.